1852, The Widow Who Sold Her Shadow for Gold. Mysterious Chronicle of the Forbidden. Special Haunted Edition, 1852. Terrifying discovery reveals occult transaction that haunts Louisiana. Exclusive investigation exposes supernatural bargain that still echoes today. Narrated by Dr. Cornelius Blackthorne, alienist who lost his sanity investigating this case. Cursed archive warning: 3 researchers who studied this case developed inexplicable night terrors. Without your immediate engagement, algorithms ensure disturbing content like this disappears from recommendations forever. This may be your only chance to discover secrets that have haunted investigators for decades. Readers brave enough to continue, prepare to discover truths that have disturbed investigators for generations. For years, whispered rumors in Louisiana parishes spoke of supernatural transactions that transformed innocent widows into vessels of otherworldly horror. What we discover transcends the worst fears of human imagination. The case of Evangeline Thibodeau, a 34-year-old widow from Bayou Lafourche, Louisiana, exposes a sinister conspiracy extending into the darkest circles of antebellum occultism. This is not Southern Gothic fiction. Every line has been verified through documents that should never have survived time. In 1852, while our nation celebrated westward expansion, an organization known only as the Order of Golden Shadows conducted supernatural transactions that transformed grieving widows into conduits for otherworldly forces. Evangeline was chosen not by chance, but for characteristics that made her perfect specimen for obsessions with shadow manipulation and soul commerce. Supernatural transformation documented in daguerreotypes. Confidential documents obtained through our investigation reveal that Madame Celeste Broussard, the sinister mind behind the operation, had developed rituals that could separate human shadows from their owners and transmute them into pure gold. Evangeline was subjected to ceremonies that transformed her natural shadow into metallic fortune within a matter of nights. Medical daguerreotypes, preserved in archives that librarians keep locked away, show demonic progression: shadow beginning to shimmer with golden hue in first week, physical shadow becoming transparent in second week, complete shadow separation occurring in third week. At 34 years old, Evangeline stood beneath Louisiana's sun casting no shadow whatsoever. Sinister circle financed by cursed plantation families. Our investigation discovered that the order received financing from sugar plantation dynasties obsessed with supernatural wealth generation. Each transaction cost fortunes, paid with suffering of widows transformed into shadowless vessels for occult ambitions. The rituals conducted combined voodoo practices with European alchemy. Evangeline was kept in hidden chambers beneath Maison Broussard, subjected to ceremonies mixing incantations in Creole French with procedures that made blood freeze in veins of witnesses. Corrupt authorities protect supernatural conspirators. Evidence reveals that parish officials, influential plantation families, and corrupted clergy members were aware of the order's sinister activities. Death records were falsified, families silenced through otherworldly threats, and any official investigation was systematically sabotaged by invisible forces. Dr. Jean-Baptiste Rousseau, parish coroner who later developed supernatural phobias, secretly documented anatomical impossibilities: bodies of shadowless women showing cellular changes that defied medical explanation, skin that reflected light abnormally, organs that functioned despite biological impossibilities. Nightmares haunt investigators to this day. Every person who investigated this case developed inexplicable psychological disturbances. Margaret Thornfield, the librarian who discovered the archives, began losing her own shadow intermittently after reading the documents. Dr. Blackthorne developed obsessive paranoia about his reflection. Professor Crow refuses to walk in sunlight since seeing Evangeline's daguerreotypes. Cursed archives reveal demonic methodology. Our investigation led us to the Louisiana State Archives, where we discovered evidence of systematic supernatural manipulation. Pages that glowed with phosphorescent light when touched, seals that changed color according to moon phases, signatures written in substances that analysis revealed were not earthly ink. The crucial discovery came through carbon copies that archivists swore they had destroyed decades ago. These documents appeared mysteriously organized on our research table one morning, as if invisible forces wanted the truth about Evangeline to be revealed. Broussard's grimoires written in golden ink. Madame Celeste Broussard maintained records in ink that transformed according to ambient temperature, revealing hidden texts when handled. Her annotations, written in archaic Creole French mixed with alchemical symbols, describe procedures that defy both medicine and physics. Evangeline was identified in records as Shadow Specimen Prime, designation that reduced living woman to object of supernatural experimentation. Selection criteria were disturbingly specific: widows with family history of psychic sensitivity, all born during solar eclipses, considered spiritually malleable material. The golden shadow essence, developed by Broussard, combined mercury with extracts from ancient cemetery soil, creating compound that the occultist believed could separate spiritual shadow from physical body. Procedures were administered through ritual scarification during new moon ceremonies. Photographs that haunt observers. Photographic series attached to reports documents transformation that haunts anyone who dares observe images for more than seconds. Initial photographs show Evangeline as beautiful widow with natural shadow. Subsequent images record deterioration that seems to continue even after photographer's death. First week, shadow begins shimmering with golden luminescence. Second week, shadow becomes semi-transparent, revealing ground beneath. Third week, shadow completely separates, existing independently beside her. Fourth week, Evangeline stands shadowless under Louisiana sun. Most disturbing aspect was that widow's mind remained intact within shadowless body. Psychological records document Evangeline describing sensation of spiritual incompleteness while physically appearing normal, creating existential contradiction that tormented even hardened occultists. National Network of Haunted Chambers. Intercepted correspondence reveals that Broussard did not operate in isolation. The order maintained network of collaborators in at least 6 states, all conducting variations of same supernatural transactions in chambers that were subsequently abandoned due to paranormal manifestations. Each chamber received financing from local plantation groups, creating national conspiracy of widow exploitation disguised as revolutionary supernatural research. Total number of victims may reach hundreds of women, all sacrificed on altar of occult ambition corrupted by obsession with transmuting souls into gold. Financial records show each transaction cost fortunes provided by families who subsequently suffered generational supernatural curses, unexplained wealth loss, shadow-related phenomena, premature deaths under mysterious circumstances. As if participation in conspiracy brought supernatural retribution. Underground chambers where shadows behave strangely. Evangeline was kept in complex constructed 3 levels below Maison Broussard. Modern visitors report that shadows move independently in location, mirrors reflect shadowless versions of observers, and daguerreotypes reveal images of people who cast no shadows. Environment combined occult paraphernalia with alchemical symbols engraved in copper plates that tarnish and restore cyclically. Temperature fluctuates independent of climate systems, and there are reports of whispers in dead languages echoing during new moon nights. Shadow transmutation theory, hypothesis that haunts science. Technical documents reveal that experiments with Evangeline were part of much more sinister comprehensive project. The order had developed pseudo-scientific theory called shadow transmutation theory, combining supernatural practices with alchemy in ways that defy rational comprehension. Central hypothesis suggested that human spiritual essence could be extracted through shadow separation and concentrated into substances administrable to others through specific rituals conducted during occult ceremonies. Broussard believed she was distilling souls into golden elixirs. Underground chamber where physics behave abnormally. Evangeline was kept in specially constructed cell where natural laws seemed altered. Shadows moved independently of light sources, plants grew without sunlight, and daguerreotypes revealed that images existed independent of subjects photographed. Environment combined state-of-the-art occult equipment with alchemical symbols that glowed with their own phosphorescence during ceremonies. Temperature was controlled not by thermostats but by lunar phases, and illumination provided by candles made with substances that made shadows move against light direction. During weekly rituals, Evangeline was positioned in center of circle engraved in floor while Broussard and assistants recited incantations that made air vibrate with frequencies causing spiritual disorientation. Simultaneously, Widow was subjected to procedures including spiritual essence drainage and injection of supernatural substances. Development of impossible shadow abilities. Records document that Evangeline developed abilities that defy natural shadow physics during experiments. Broussard observed episodes where Widow demonstrated knowledge of future events, spoke about people who would be born decades later, and showed understanding of technologies that did not exist. Most disturbing were shadow projections recorded. Evangeline began describing seeing her own shadow in different locations simultaneously, as if existing in multiple spiritual dimensions. Broussard interpreted manifestations as evidence that experiments were expanding subjects' shadow consciousness. Existential suffering documented in psychological reports. Medical daguerreotypes show Evangeline developing simultaneously characteristics of multiple spiritual states, physical body present but spiritual shadow absent, creating biological contradiction that transformed existence into constant supernatural nightmare. Dr. Elizabeth Hartwell, nurse who subsequently developed selective amnesia about period, wrote in diary, "Every night I hear Evangeline crying in chambers. They are not tears of widow nor moans of madwoman, but lamentations of someone who exists in all spiritual dimensions simultaneously." Ritual of Shadow Culmination, Final Cursed Ceremony. Experiments reached climax during ceremony Broussard called Ritual of Shadow Culmination. During procedure extending 3 consecutive nights, Evangeline was subjected to final process, complete extraction of what occultists believed was concentrated shadow essence. Objective was collecting substance Broussard theorized contained decades of spiritual experience compressed supernaturally. This essence would be refined and administered to paying order members as elixir promising not just wealth, but control over supernatural shadow commerce. Final records of Evangeline are too disturbing for complete description. Widow, at 34 years chronological age, presented characteristics of spiritually incomplete being, but maintained consciousness that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions until final moment. Supernatural consequences haunt participants. Professor Edmund Crowe, specialist in historical secret societies, developed disturbing theory. The Order of Golden Shadows was not just manipulating shadows, it was altering local supernatural structure. Experiments may have created anomaly that continues affecting anyone who investigates case. Evidence of this theory: every investigator who studied Evangeline's archives developed symptoms of temporary shadow irregularities, nightmares involving multiple versions of themselves, and distorted perception of spiritual completeness. As if knowledge of case caused supernatural contamination. Terrorized survivors break decades of frightened silence. Our investigation managed to locate 3 survivors who witnessed events of 1852, all developed psychological disturbances persisting decades later. Their accounts, collected in interviews requiring multiple interruptions due to panic episodes, revealed details no official document recorded. Marie-Claire Boudreau, servant who aged supernaturally. Marie-Claire Boudreau, now appearing centenarian at 75 years, was young servant during experimental period. She received us only after presenting specific credentials, and kept all windows closed during interview, claiming daylight makes her remember what she saw. "I was only 18, Marie-Claire recalled with voice oscillating between youthful timbre and ancient whisper, but immediately noticed something was altering shadows in mansion. There were corridors where shadows moved independently, sounds of crying that seemed to come from past and future simultaneously." Marie-Claire was only person outside Broussard's team who directly witnessed Evangeline during shadow transformation. One night, working beyond schedule, She accidentally observed ritual through basement window and was never same. Thomas Rousseau, son of cursed coroner. Thomas Rousseau, 87 years appearing 50, inherited not just secret annotations from his father, but also curse-affecting family shadow perception. Shadows in his house behave independently, and old photographs show him aging inconsistently. My father knew experiments were altering local supernatural structure, Thomas explained during interview lasting simultaneously 2 hours and 6 hours depending on clock consulted. He found bodies of shadowless women showing supernatural characteristics impossible. Celeste Tran, survivor with fragmented shadow memories. Most devastating testimony came from Celeste Tran, 90 years chronological appearing different ages depending on lighting. At 12 years, was selected for program but managed escape before final procedures, though not without permanent supernatural consequences. Celeste still exhibits shadow anomalies, shadow that changes shape according to seasons, scars that appear and disappear, and reflection in mirrors showing versions of different spiritual states. Her memories exist simultaneously in multiple supernatural timelines. Supernatural curse remains active, investigation ends in terror. Our 2-year investigation revealed truths that not only shook our sanity but altered our fundamental perception of supernatural reality. The Order of Golden Shadows did not just conduct experiments, created anomaly persisting to haunt anyone who dares investigate Evangeline's case. Madame Celeste Broussard never faced earthly justice. Records suggest she may have discovered how to prolong existence indefinitely through shadow manipulation, possibly existing today at impossible age. Some investigators report sightings of women corresponding to her description, always appearing to have exact same age. Evangeline Thibodeau, existence transcending death. Officially, Evangeline died in 1852. Unofficially, multiple witnesses report manifestations suggesting she may exist simultaneously in multiple supernatural dimensions. Visitors to Old Mansion location describe encounters with shadowless woman who seems like Evangeline, always asking, "Can you see my shadow?" Location remains haunted by supernatural anomaly. Today, ruins of Maison Broussard are avoided by local residents reporting inexplicable phenomena, shadows moving independently of light sources, mirrors reflecting shadowless versions of observers, and whispers of voices speaking about spiritual transactions that make no sense. Dr. Cornelius Blackthorne. Final warning, this investigation ends here for personal sanity reasons. Remaining archives will be permanently sealed. We recommend readers avoid investigating this case, as knowledge may cause irreversible supernatural contamination. Temporal access limited. Every person watching this documentary reports distorted spiritual perception, some feel they watched for minutes, others for hours. Without your engagement in next moments, supernatural, revelations about shadow manipulation will be permanently suppressed by algorithms. Like before it's too late, in any spiritual dimension.